Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Hello. Oh my goodness. Can I laugh at myself? I pretty much need to. Let's get busy. I apologize so much for being so late. I took my phone, my Misfits box came, and I propped my phone behind the faucet in the kitchen and completely forgot it. I couldn't find my phone anywhere. I mean, not anywhere. And then I said, you know what? I told Jenny, I said, you know what? I'll just go on, I'll do Facebook Live off of my laptop. Setting that sucker up is like, you've got to have a degree in tech to do it. They had about 18,000 things that you needed to do beforehand. So I'm saying hello to all of you. I'm not seeing you right now. I seriously was this close to tears. I'm going to tell you though, it's something that I did. I'm just going to tell you what I did. I decided, you know what? I'm not going to get hysterical. I'm not going to fall apart. I'm not going to go into the whole emotional baggage, fill in the blank, get crazy, all of that. You know what I decided to do instead? I said, I know it's here. It has not left the house. So logically, where would it be? And I started retracing my steps. And that's when I found my phone after I told Jenny. And Jenny's calling me like 18 times. And I'm like, Jenny, no, there is no ringer on. Because I never have my ringer on because it drives me nuts. Anyway, I made it. Mascara intact. Because I didn't fall apart. And that's a big plus, right? Things will come together. If we allow them to come together, they'll come together. This is a big lesson. And I really struggled, shall we say? I struggled against the emotional overwrougtness that I had. We all have it, you know? This is part of the human equation. When we can control that, we can start controlling getting our results. If I had fallen apart, I don't believe I would have found my phone. I bet you Mark would have found it later on this evening. So anyway, lessons learned. Lessons learned. All right, let's get down to it. We've got a lot. I've got some really good stuff. Who said that? So Catherine said it's okay to believe that you're constant. I am constant. I'm not giving up. I'm never gonna give up. I'm never gonna quit on myself. Can you say that about yourself? Can you say that about the things that you're doing? All we need to do is stand back and just say, you know what? We don't quit on ourselves. We just figure out what doesn't work. We're Edisons, you know? We're like Thomas Edison, figuring out the thousandth way that this didn't work. We can't be so rigid that we just throw ourselves out. You know, blessed are the flexible, for they will find a way. And Diana Nyad, you know, she's one of my heroes. She's the one who said, find a way. And 64 years old, crossing, you know, going from Florida to Cuba or Cuba to Florida. I don't know which way she did it, but swimming with sharks and being stung by jellyfish at 64. This was her third attempt or fourth attempt. I don't even remember. But you know what she said? Find a way. And you know what I say to you? Find a way. When we start to think that there is no way, we just need to calm down, unplug from the emotional experience of the whole thing and get into the weeds and start retracing our steps and start figuring out a way out of it, because there's always a way, isn't there? Amen? Amen? I didn't go to hysteria, you guys. I was this close, but I didn't go there because I thought, why would I do this? How is that going to help me? It's going to wreck my mascara, people. Come on. I worked hard on this mascara. Mary says amen. 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 Listen, if this is what you've always done, that is what you're always going to get. If we want to get beyond that, We have simply got to stop doing the same thing. The same thing doesn't help. The same thing puts us back in the weeds. The same thing, the same thing, the same thing. Why would we think for a minute that the same thing's going to help us? It never does. It never has. And it won't tomorrow either. So if we get into that place of understanding, okay, here I go. I'm going to go off the cliff into this emotional ridiculousness that's not going to help me out. How about if I just stop that right now? I can stop that at any time. You can stop emotions at any time because you do have that control over your life. How about that? I want to have that kind of control over my life. I refuse to allow my emotions to grab me by the nose and drag me around because I know what that does. You know, prisons are full of people who've been dragged around by their emotions and they did something that they regret for the rest of their lives, and that's why they're there. Because they didn't think things through. Because they didn't take a minute to stop, unplug, and just figure things out. We all have the ability to process if we decide to get out of the monkey brain and into the big prefrontal cortex where all the big thinking's done. When we do that, we get, we elevate our thinking and we elevate what we do instead. Amen? Because how attractive is it for a grown woman to be sitting there crying on the floor like a baby? Really? Are you kidding me? I mean, I was this close, but this close means that I got myself to the edge and said, no, you don't. You don't go there. You don't go there. You go to the place of figuring this thing out because everything is highly figure-outable. We know this, right? Thank you, Marie Forleo, for that, by the way. Everything's highly figure-outable. And you know why it is? Because I knew, one, this phone did not leave the house. Two, it was me who put it somewhere. And three, I always do little things like that. So it's all a matter of just retracing, calming myself down and just getting to the next thing. Okay, so we've determined it's not here. I went into the kitchen, not here, not here, not, oh, wait a minute. I was putting away my Misfits box and I had a bunch of stuff here and there it is behind the faucet. Life is like that, isn't it? Right when we think it's just not going to happen and overly emoting and just going to the next level, suddenly things, when you calm down, you can start figuring things out. It's highly recommended, by the way. I'm going to talk today, and I didn't even write this in the comments, but I have this for you. I want you to take some notes, and I want you to really think about this. You may have to go back and just make a timestamp of where we are right now and redo this because this is a needle mover. This is part of the equation for figuring out why we go to the same place that we've gone over and over again, and I'm talking about food addiction, why we do the same things that cause the same results and yet we step back into that, you know what I'm talking about, and why we don't elevate our lives to the place that we want. We don't up-level them to the place that we want. I've got the key for you, okay? This is one of many keys. Have you ever seen a jailer's key ring? You know, if you've ever watched Andy of Mayberry, you know. There's several keys on that key ring, right? There's not just one. We have to go back a few years to do this, but just bear with me. It's the truth. There is a key, and I believe that this is a master key. And it's one of the things that has completely changed my life, and I believe it will change yours. Are you ready? Are you ready? And it's journaling, because journaling can change your life. Inside of all of us is this muddled up stuff, a bunch of stuff. We all have stuff. We have past stuff. We have issues because of old stuff. We have things that we haven't quite worked out, but we're aware of. We've got stuff, right? Anybody here who's without the baggage? I mean, come on. We're all baggage carriers. You know that? We are all 100% baggage carriers. It's just like, what size is your baggage? I want to carry on, y'all. I don't want some freighter having to come up and dump all the baggage. I just want to carry on. Just simple. It's compact. It's does the trick. I understand what it is. I don't have to unload this huge cargo thing, right? We all have it. And journaling helps us to connect up our feelings, because our feelings become emotions and our emotions become our actions unless we have a complete, handle on it. Catherine says, my bag has heavy straps. I'm glad to hear that. But we want to get rid of the heaviness, don't we? We just want to, we'd want to drill it down. You know, we can't change our past. We can't change the repercussions of whatever emotional tragedies that you've had in your life. I've had mine. You know, we're not going to compare them because comparison is the thief of joy. And it's ridiculous because you've had yours, I've had mine. We've all had to deal with whatever it is that we've had to deal with, right? But we can dig into our true feelings of what's going on when we decide that we are going to be these women who have made the decision to journal about it. It's scary. It's scary. We're putting it all out there. But I'll read you what I wrote here, is a fundamental difference between feelings and emotions is that feelings are experienced consciously, while emotions manifest either unconsciously or consciously, which is the truth. Because sometimes, have you ever been walking around with yourself and you can't feel the feels? You're like, I don't know, something's just wrong. That's your emotions messing with you. And it's based on a lot of different things, but that's what your emotions do. So we maybe don't understand the depths of our emotions, but we do understand our feelings, because our feelings bubble up. Our feelings, I'm sad. Our feelings, I'm happy. Our feelings say, hey, you know, this is kind of screwed up day, whatever. But emotions, they can be bubbling in the background. It's like having a pot of soup on the stove all day. It's like a crock pot. This is what happens with us. And we just need to understand it is somewhat attached to a feeling, because a feeling, you know, brings up the idea of what's going on. But it is in the background of our lives. And digging through it, well, we can to a degree, but we can also allow them to escape and allow them to be let go of without fully understanding that. You know, I've been through a lot of counseling, and I'm certainly not a counselor, I will tell you that right now. But do we want to understand the depths of our emotions as much as it is that we want to be free from them holding our lives hostage? That's the question that I ask you. And a counselor is going to ask you something completely different, but I think it's worthy of a question to be answered, and you need to put that into your journal. A journal will give you a point of view. This is what you saw. This is how you experienced this whole thing. And remember, your 5-year-old self maybe is, and your 7-year-old brother or sister and your parents all experienced everything differently than you did. You know, if we're going back on family stuff. But it's always a perspective. It's always a perspective. And the perspective sometimes isn't exactly the truth. We got to deal with that as well. Is this exactly what happened? Or is this my perspective from being 5 years old and crying and whatever? Is this all accurate? We have to ask ourselves that question. I've shared with you before how perspective is wiggly, right? Mark and I were outside looking on the deck, and I said, look, a pileated woodpecker. He couldn't see, I can't see it, I can't see it. When I put him exactly in my place, lowered him down a couple of inches and said, now there at 12 o'clock, then he could see it. That's what empathy is, by the way, being able to walk in somebody else's shoes and being able to feel what they feel. But not everybody experiences everything exactly the same. And that's the thing that we need to be looking at. And it's okay. And that doesn't mean that your truth needs to be, you know, dismissed of. It just means that there are, you know, there could be a whole conglomeration of other things that you're not aware of. Allow that to be a part of your equation. And then remind yourself that you have a life that's worth living, that your life is worth living even with all this stuff, because you can sort things out. You can always sort things out. And let me just say this, it comes in drips and drabs. It's not always like sit down, have a journal, I figured everything out in my life. Everything is just going to be smooth sailing. It comes in drips and drabs. I remember when I was a kid, when I was going through counseling, this is about, I'm going to say 6 years ago, and I was in the bathtub and I had this overwhelming memory of, you know, what I believe to be the key of my abandonment issues, you know. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was an old memory. I checked in with my mom and talked to this. My mom was still alive, and checked in with her, and she said, well, this is what I remember. And that's when it just hit me that we all have different perspectives, and that all adds into it. But I'm telling you that this is what helps. It's just drips and drabs. Your life is worth living with all of its imperfections and flaws. With all of the unfixed stuff at this point, we still at least know that everything is figure-outable, right? How much do you want to go into the fixing part, though? How much do you want to go into the place of living that vibrant life? What can we leave behind, and what needs to be figured out? That's what a journal's about. Reassure yourself of who you are. Remember this, and this is a big thing that you need to put, I am is huge. Remember I shared with you the I am an athlete yesterday and how that came up during my whole session and how that made me feel. It was an affirmation from God, I believe, to let me know you're on target with your goals. You're doing okay. You've got this. You've got this. And I do this a lot too when I'm getting into the drags of things. Jenny just did it this morning. I am the daughter of the Most High King is what she posted. And this helps us with our identity of who we are. When we identify ourselves as such, as what it is that we want to be identified by, we don't get into identifying ourselves by our emotions, our feelings of things undone, of places where we feel like we failed. We leave that behind, and we put our identity into the things that are beautiful, into the things that are true. Because the true you is that you are here on purpose for a reason put here by God himself. And when we understand that, and that is the center, then we can start dealing with this other crap, which we all have. And this helps you also, a journal helps you to record big magic moments. Like yesterday was a big magic moment for me when Jess King said, remember, tell yourself, I am an athlete. That was a magical moment. And it is a keystone moment. And it was a moment of victory. It was a moment of affirmation. It was a moment when I needed that the most. And guess where it went? Right here, into this journal, so that I can come back and do that. And I see this all the time with folks who have said 3,000 times. I've seen this. People have said, I had this moment. We had a gal a few months ago who was talking about the brownie pan in her house, and she walked by it and she kept looking at it and thinking maybe just the edge, maybe just a little bit of this, and then she said, no, I'm not going to play with fire. I'm not going to do this. And she shared all about that victory. Now, my thing to her was fabulous, great things, but you know what? When we record it in our journals, then we've got a victory to look back on. And you know what our journals can do? Our journals can give us that encouragement and that confirmation that all is well inside this little kingdom of ours. All we have to do is look inside here, because we have moments of victory and we have moments of defeat. We have moments where we're feeling like we can do anything, and we have moments when we don't. And when we have moments that we don't, we need reassurance. Go ahead and post, but go ahead and look and see about what you're about and how you have defeated these insurmountable problems before, and how you have stood victorious, and relive it and feel the feels. Emote with that. That's the stuff that we need to do. That's how we flip on the switch. That's how we flip on the thinking. That's how we flip away all this crap and all this garbage and all this heavy cargo that we lug around from year to year. It's your journal. And this helps you to build your own personal serenity, because you can see there's a pattern. There's a pattern of you making headway. There's a pattern of you having these victories, and they become more, and they become more because you're living consciously, not just in the moment, but with a plan, with a purpose, prepared and ready. In your journal. In your journal. It's a $1 journal from the dollar store. Can be one of the most effective, amazing tools you have ever used in your entire life, if you will simply allow the process. And by the way, highly recommend for all of us perfectionists out there, a pencil. This is a drafting pencil with an eraser on the end that comes off and on. And let me tell you, for all of us struggling perfectionists, yeah, because you can erase and you don't have to look at crossed out things, God forbid. It makes all the difference in the world. The other thing is number 7, I'm going to leave it here. Is you can see the forest through the trees when you take the time to journal, because you're dropping the nuggets in. You're dropping those victories in. You're dropping new ideas in. You're talking about what's important to you. You're not allowing the muddle to take over, because we all have a muddle in our heads. And when we're able to sort things out, it's amazing what happens, because we can say, yeah, no, yeah, indeed, this is what I want. Keep stepping forward. This is what happens when you decide to journal every single day. This is what happens when you decide that this journal is your tool and your answer and one of the keys out of this hostage situation that we're in, when we allow ourselves to overly emote, to have our emotions take over and completely wipe out all the good intentions and all the good stuff that we've done in the past. You know, you have an opportunity at any moment to step into your higher self, simply by utilizing some really precious, very inexpensive tools. And I'm going to tell you, if you're not journaling yet, pinkies up. It's time to get on that. It's time to be a part of that. The other thing you can use this for, by the way, is writing out your 3 goals that you have if you're using our journal, our Take Back Your Life journal. That will help you as well. Keeping things front of mind. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. And using this journal is going to make all the difference in the world. I love that you show up, and sorry, again, for being so incredibly late, but there was a lesson there for me, and I hope that my lesson taught you a little something too, and that you could take that with you. Love you guys. Peace be with you. Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.